If it feels like you're struggling to make some progress with your workouts and your lifts from time to time, there is one huge variable that I see a lot of people struggle with, especially the people that I coach on a regular basis, and that is trying to hit a certain particular weight. Now, there's nothing wrong with going after a goal, like saying you want to bench 225 for 10, or you want to be able to do 10 pull ups, or whatever the case is. But in terms of actually getting to the point of that progression, you shouldn't necessarily care about what exact weight you are using, how many exact reps you are getting, as long as you are abiding by a program, working within a particular range, and actually using a good stimulative weight. That's all that's going to really matter at the end of the day, because I've trained a lot of people and especially coached a lot of people where on the days that they are without me, they go out and they do their program, and let's say this week they were doing tricep pushdowns and like they got 60 for 10 and they were an honest 60 for 10. And I said, all right, get 60 for 12. When they go to do that the next time, they really could get 11 for the full set with the proper technique, but they falsified their form and either cut the range of motion short in order to get the 12th one, or did something funky that they normally wouldn't have, like thrown their entire body weight into it in order to get the 12th one. And as a coach, on certain exercises, I won't request that a person sends me a video back to show me that they were doing the right form. I'm assuming that they're doing what we had already agreed upon doing, and so this creates an awful vicious cycle, because now they got to the top of their range, and I'm like, all right, cool. They can do 60 for 12. Why don't we go to do 65 for 10? Let's shoot for that. And then the cycle continues to perpetuate, especially with those who are like self-coached, right? You're chasing numbers, records, PRs, and you're not standardizing your form. I'm not saying that you have to be like a Nazi with your form to the point where like you look picture perfect, because when you strain, it's going to be inevitable that your form degrades a little bit. You're going to use some body English when you're doing your exercise, but you don't want to get to the point where you're just doing it to be able to say like, yeah, I do 100-pound pushdowns for 10, or yeah, I do overhead press with 135 for 10. But realistically, when you're overhead pressing, you're only coming down to like here, and then you're pressing back up rather than getting that full range and popping it back up in a standardized, measured way. So that is one huge thing that I see a lot of people suffer with. And I want to put this out there because I want to try to help as many people as I can to avoid making the same mistake. It doesn't matter how much you lift as long as it is stimulative to the muscle that you are working. So if you're getting a good deep stretch and you're getting a full contraction at the top of the lift, you are doing a great job. And as long as you're going to a point where, like if you're doing everything on an RPE scale and it's like RPE 8, you truly only have 2 reps left in the tank with a good standardized form, that's what matters more than anything else. If you're doing something like I do, where I do preacher curls until I physically fail, as long as the standardized form is that arms get pretty much to full extension every time and there's no like bouncing out of the hole, like I go all the way out and then I pull it towards me. I'm not trying to falsify my records to show that I can do a particular number. I'm literally just using that number as a measurement tool in order to know that I did a little bit better than the last time by using the exact same technique as I did the last time. And that's what's going to show you that you actually made progress. Whereas if you try to just push and hype yourself up and falsify your lift just to get the fucking number, you're just tricking yourself into thinking you did something when you really didn't. Because again, rep ranges are meant to be a little window, so that if you have an 8 to 12 rep range, maybe one week you're feeling great, you get 10, 9, and 8 if you're doing like a 3 by 8 to 12. And then maybe the next week you do 10, 9, and 9, and the following week you do 10, 9, and 8 again. It doesn't necessarily mean that you regressed or anything like that, especially if the week following it's like 10, 10, and 10, like you just blew it out of the water. You might have an off day. You might not have had enough carbohydrates before your workout. Your sleep might have been lacking. Your hydration could have been off. There's a lot of different factors that accommodate for the fact that you're going to have fluctuations from lift to lift and week to week. And not every week is going to be an upward trend, especially as you get better and better at certain lifts. And you might have some lifts where you do the same weight at the same reps for 3 weeks on end, and then on that 4th week you finally get that one extra rep. And that doesn't mean that one extra rep, that doesn't mean that you're at a plateau, because eventually you did get that one extra rep. And I think a lot of people are eager to jump the gun, change things up, and move to something completely different before they actually reap the benefit out of the exercise they're trying to do. Because the way I explain things to all my clients is like, you do an exercise for like the first 3 weeks, you're getting neurologically strong with it. You're actually understanding it, you're learning how to move the weight, you're learning how to do the exercise itself, and your body is just trying to catch up to say like, all right, how much energy am I actually willing to produce and push out into this exercise? And once you've done an exercise for like 3, maybe even 4 weeks for some people, then you will actually reach your physical limitation, like the muscle can no longer actually keep up with the exercise. It's only at that point that you're starting to make slow, minimal progress. And progress doesn't have to be quick. If you get 1 rep a week, you're doing great. If you get 2 weeks, reps a week, you're doing excellent. Like, it doesn't matter necessarily, as long as over a period of time, weeks, months, even sometimes years, you're making some kind of gain and progress with it. And honestly, like, if an exercise gets to a point where it's sticking and it's hard, it's probably a good exercise for you. You shouldn't swap it out. Alternatively, and I can make a whole different video about this, but like, if you're doing an exercise and it starts to hurt your joints more than anything else, then maybe it's time to abandon ship. And that's actually something that I recently did. I was doing the tricep extension machine for quite a while at one of the gyms I train at, because the other one, it feels fine still. But I got to 130 pounds on it, and for 2-3 weeks straight, my elbows hurt more than I did feel my triceps. And I tried it for a few weeks straight because I didn't know if 1 week it was just a fluke, and if I came back to it the following week or the week after that, it would feel better. And I think, again, going back to what I talked about before, it's really easy to get discouraged and think you just hit a plateau spontaneously, as opposed to, all right, let me do this a couple times and verify that every single time this hurts my joints. It did after 3 weeks, so I was like, all right, on the 4th week, I'm going to something completely new for this that's going to provide me the same amount of stimulus that this is going to provide me. But the same thing goes with failing reps and not progressing in weight. Did you get a good pump? Did you feel the muscle that you were trying to work? Did you actually work yourself to or near failure? If all of those things align and you're not totally landsliding backwards with your reps, stick with it until you eventually reach the goal weight that you're trying to do, but don't try to force it and falsify something that was not meant to happen quite yet. So that's just something that I see all the time with people trying to rush the process. Take your time with it. Nobody's watching you to see what you're lifting, how many reps you're getting, and all of that. They're likely focused on what they're lifting, how many reps they're getting, and how they look. So just focus on you, focus on your progress, and don't bail on an exercise too soon.